What's up, guys? This is Jeff with Paradigm Canine, and this is week 2 with our February group of dogs. Guys, the second week of our program is insanely important. This is when we are taking the skills that they learned in the first week, and we're teaching them how to be more proficient, how to be more stable and reliable in those commands, and how to also learn how to handle some controlled distractions. So this is where we start to kind of teach them some impulse control. We are also starting our e-collar conditioning process, which is a very methodical process that we do. If the dogs don't fully understand where the e-collar came from, what to do when they felt it, why it happened, how to avoid it in the future, if they're not really fluent in how it works, then it's really no good to us when they're outside, off leash, around distractions and all that. So we want to be really methodical about teaching the dogs how they're supposed to respond to it. We want to make sure they're doing it with enthusiasm, with confidence and clarity. We don't want confusion, fear, anxiety, none of that stuff. It should be really clear. It's a really fun process when you do it right. One of my favorite things about the second week of training, and just one of my favorite things that we teach our pet dogs in general, is how to heel in a heel position.
Yes.
So that taking your dog out for a walk, transporting them places in and out of the vet, walking through stores, anything, is much easier for the average pet owner, but also it's the foundation for people that may want to move on to more advanced training or competition level training or anything like that. The fundamentals are already kind of in place. This is a lot more precise than the way your typical dog trainer teaches a pet dog to heel. Most pet dog trainers don't really teach a formal heel position. Instead, they just teach how to walk loosely by your left side, within a certain radius of your left leg, and matching pace changes and things like that. What I found, though, is when we teach the position in a much more precise way, when the dog inevitably makes a mistake, which they will, they're not perfect, and you have to tell them no because they broke the heel position. Maybe they were distracted by the neighbor's cat or something. If you need to say no and get them back into a heel, they know where they're going. They can fix it all by themselves, just verbally, right? So by teaching the position, it makes it really easy to correct up on inappropriate behavior on walks and things like that. If they're trying to pull because they want to go see, the neighbor's dog you're walking by that has an invisible fence or something. You put them in a heel, now they're locked into that position. And heel means stay right by my left leg, within about a foot or so radius of my left leg. The rules we're not doing like actual competition level healing, so they don't have to be staring at us. But what we're doing here is we're building a lot of muscle memory where checking in with us, making eye contact with us, looking at us while they're healing, it feels easy, fluid, natural, and more importantly, fun. So there's value in it, because if we need the dog to look away from another dog that's barking and lunging and pulling at them, I want it to be very easy for them to decide an alternate behavior that involves me, which is just look at me instead. And then we get to play our little engagement games and use our reward system and things like that.
There you go.
So in general, the rules that we give the dogs in my program for healing are their head position while they're walking anyways. They're allowed to look straight ahead, or they're allowed to look at me. They're not allowed to look often to the left. They're not allowed to be sniffing the ground. A lot of people will say things like, it's so unnatural for a dog to go for a walk and be, looking at you the whole time, which again, they're not looking at me the whole time. They're allowed to scan the environment to an extent. But what I don't want is them walking completely checked out from me in a way where they forget what they were supposed to be doing because they got preoccupied. This takes a ton of reps. That's why we start the heel positioning in week 1. And then towards the end of week 1 and then into week 2, we're doing a ton of reps of teaching them exactly how we want them to walk with us, so that when we start pushing them with bigger distractions outside in public and things like that in the second half of training, this all feels really natural to them. Another really important thing we're doing in week 2 is building it on the commands that they've learned: heel, sit, down, stay, come, and adding some criteria to it. Meaning now, the expectation isn't just sit when I tell you to sit or when I guide you or lure you into a sit. It's sit and stay regardless of what else is going on around you. This is something you have to practice. It is a skill in and of itself. Ultimately, the command sit and down and all this stuff, all those rules will just kind of be built in. But initially, when you teach sit and the dog sits and they get their treat, a lot of people assume that means their dog knows sit. But then when they try to do it in the real world, when there's other stuff going on, the dogs, or if they'd rather just do something else, they might sit when you tell them to, and then 2 seconds later they hop up and they were back to doing what they were doing. What we want is for the dog to learn that sit means stay there until you are released or I tell you otherwise. So in week 2, we're using small controlled distractions. I'm not trying to, throw everything in the kitchen sink at them, but little temptations that for most dogs would cause them to make a mistake. You're building impulse control, you're desensitizing them to things that typically cause them to mess up. Look at that, good boy. And it makes things a lot easier when we get into more real world stuff here coming soon in week 3.
Yes.
One of the most crucial parts of week 2 is teaching the dogs how to respond to the e-collar with all of the individual commands that we taught in the week 1. Because what comes the following week is us starting to proof these commands around distractions, which means they're going to make mistakes, they're going to try to make the wrong choice, and we need a way to say, no, don't do that, do this instead. But it has to be something that they fully understand. So like right now with Norma, we are teaching her how to turn the e-collar off by returning to Kayla. It's essentially a form of the recall. What we're doing is we're layering it on top of the let's go command that she's already learned. So we'll demonstrate that real quick when she gets her untangled. So did she adjust the command this time?
Let's go. Yes, Norma.
So she obviously knows how to come when called, but that does not mean that she is going to come when she's out on her farm chasing their sheep around. So we need a secondary way to get her attention and communicate to her what she's supposed to be doing, and that's where the e-collar can come in. It does not have to, and it should not be used simply just as a blunt force punishment tool.
Let's go. Yes, good girl.
So what we're doing essentially is just bringing her attention to the sensation that's on the e-collar, and we have to be very slow and methodical with her because she was trained on invisible fence and she is not a fan of it. So we have to recondition how she feels about that stimulation. Teacher, it's really not bad. We're essentially just playing a game here. What happens in her head here is she's going to feel the e-collar turn on, and in this context, we're only doing one command at a time.
Let's go. Yes.
She's going to learn that, oh, after I feel the e-collar, Kayla's going to say, let's go. And when she starts moving towards Kayla, the e-collar turns away. Therefore, she is in control over how to turn that collar off. And all I'm doing is just kind of being bait out here, just giving her some freebie food, getting my hands all slobbery. So we typically have a sound box that we hook up to this so that you guys can hear when she's using the collar, but Norma is extremely sensitive to the beeps due to the invisible fence training, and it kind of puts her in a mood. So we're not using any auditory stuff with her other than our voice, but I'll let you know here. So like right now she's eating food. Kayla's turning the collar on right now, so it's on. And then if she does immediately come, she helps her with the command that she does know. Our aim here is to remove the help. We're gonna need showers after this. Get slobbery. Look, good girl, Norma. What are you doing? You're getting spunky. Hi. All right.
Yes. Oh, girl.
She also has learned how to recall, and Kayla can tell her to come when she pops her on the leash a little bit here. It's a little baby pop. It's not like a correction level. It's just more of a poke on the shoulder, just like that. So we have multiple ways to get her attention, but ultimately what we want is for her to just hear the owner's commands and immediately drop whatever she's doing and return to them. But that's not going to happen unless we have a backup way here to teach her to not do the things that she's going to try to get away with doing, just because the prey drive takes over. She's done it for so long. She knows it's fun, so she's going to be conflicted and between either listening to her owner or doing the thing that she knows is fun. So we have to be able to use the e-collar to say, nope, don't do that. Do this instead. And these sessions are very slow and methodical because they do catch on to the pattern if you're not careful. What is it? All right, go ahead. E-collar's on. There we go. So what we want to see is her be able to return to Kayla when she turns the e-collar on without her having to help her. So see if we can get a good clean one here. So just leave it on for a second. When you turn her on, just kind of hesitate before you help her. Go ahead. So it's on right now. She's sniffing the food. Processing. Processing. All right, give her a little help.
Let's go.
That was more of a test rep than anything. If it takes that long, then the conditioning, the association hasn't been made yet, so we just keep repping it out. All right, go ahead.
Let's go. Yes.
It's almost there. There's a little bit of a flinch, but she hesitated. That's okay. Who's a good girl? Who's a good girl? All right, go ahead.
Yes.
There it is.
Good girl.
That was a nice clean rep. Let's see if we can get 2 in a row. All right, let me give her a couple before you do it. Give her a couple more. All right, go ahead. E-collar's on.
Yes,
Nice.
Norma, there she is. What a
So the association's getting there. We need some more reps at it, but it's all going in the right direction there.